let's have a conversation about how we communicate and how we learn. This is one of those foundational tools to have a discussion about for a couple reasons. One, how we best absorb information and we best retain it. Two, how we best communicate with other people because they are probably operating on a different system than what we are. Super, super, super common. I'll give you an example. Two people can walk into a movie. They can sit down, they're right next to each other, middle of the theater, 6 rows back, screen is in the exact same position, sound is the same, temperature is the same, all of the external factors are the same. They can walk out of that movie. One person says, that was the best thing I have ever seen. It is the greatest movie ever. I think it's awesome. And the person right next to him goes, what theater were you in? That was awful. I hated that movie. That just didn't feel right. And it's because they had two different experiences altogether. I'll give you another example. And I don't know who did this research, but it is out there. There is a piece of research of how many bits, little pieces of information we are getting at any given moment. Think about it like a snowstorm, right? When you're standing in a storm, the snow is just pelting you, and there's all these different flecks flying around all over the place. At any given moment, one person is receiving 4 million pieces of information all the time. That's the information that's around you. That's the snowstorm. We are only capable of, now think snowstorm, we're only capable of catching 120 bits of that information. Now here's the interesting thought. If I'm standing here and you're standing right next to me, and we are 4 million pieces of information are coming past us, I catch 120 snowflakes, you over here are going to catch a different 120 snowflakes. That's how it works, and that's why our representation is a little different all the time. So understand, you're not having the same experience, and that experience can be based on what kind of mood I'm in. If I'm hungry, take your pick of whatever that's going to be. There's going to be differences of how I absorb. So here's how we absorb, and there's an acronym. It's called VAKOG, and it stands for, it's VAKOG. I could have done that a little different. VAKOG. Okay. And it stands for, V is for visual, obviously that's see, okay? That's visual, I see it. A is auditory, I hear it, okay? Listen to it. Kinesthetic is K, and it stands for feeling. Now a lot of people think that this is, I learn by doing a little bit. Kinesthetic stands more for feeling. Right? It's how we feel about a situation, and can we touch it, right? So there's a tactile piece to that. Less known, but are still a piece of it of how you have a visual representation. So we've got visual, auditory, kinesthetic. Now the O stands for olfactory, sense of smell. Okay, pretty typical stuff. And sense of smell can bring on a memory quicker than just about anything and derail it, and we'll show you about that one later. And G, gustatory, taste, how it tastes. So that's how we receive the world, is through those particular senses. That's how we receive the world. And here's the +1 in this for your language. And this is where the homework is going to come in, of understanding how you operate and what yours are. And some of us vary depending on the experience, right? Some people will say, I am highly visual, I'm highly visual. And if I ask you, would you rather read a book or listen to a book on tape? A lot of them will say, well, I'd way rather listen to a tape. I love going to concerts, I love to hear the birds, different things, which come to find out, they're actually higher auditory than they are visual, okay? Now, in language, this is where language is sales, and this is where your self-talk comes in, and this is where sometimes you'll have a conversation with people and you're just not on the same page, right? And that's because, and I'll give you the example, I could use a statement like, can you see what I'm saying here? If the other person is highly auditory, those words don't fall on them, because what they want to know is, can you hear what I'm saying? They might say something like this. It just doesn't seem like you're listening to me. It doesn't seem like you're listening to me. You don't hear what I'm saying, and I just don't feel like I'm being heard. Okay, I threw a little hitch in there for you too. So that's largely auditory language with a hint of kinesthetic language. I don't feel like I'm being heard. You'll hear this, and there's a ton of research around this. If you're a highly visual person, it's not resonating. It's not making sense. You're going to say, I don't see why you don't get the bigger picture here. I just don't see it. You've got to look outside and see what the bigger picture is. Because you're highly visual. You're not communicating on the same page. You're not in the same language, even though you're both speaking English. Okay? Pay attention to this language. This is kind of a super rock star thing to get to paying attention to how it works. What is your language? Is it I feel hurt, I will, and I'm going down a really weird road here, but it's just the stuff that we tend to hear, right? I feel hurt. You can say stuff like, I'm super happy. I'll switch this around. I'm really happy today. I feel great. It's an amazing day. It's warm. That's kinesthetic language. And another person could go, man, it's a beautiful day out. I can see for miles. The sun is out and it's bright and the trees are green. Highly visual language. The other person is going to say something to the degree of, I got up this morning and the birds were singing. I could hear them outside the window. It was nice and quiet everywhere that I was. I didn't hear the buzz of city or car noise or anything, right? That is largely auditory language. Now we'll talk about it again, of olfactory and gustatory, how you use those senses. They're not as highly rated because your other three tend to take over more. So your homework is pay attention to how you tend to communicate. There's going to be a list of questions that you're going to go through to make sure you're paying attention to that, and take it to your business partner, take it to your spouse, see where they are and how the two of you can connect better and get in alignment. It's a great tool.